Well, welcome to our Module 5 live session. It's 6:30, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I realize people are still might be coming in, but I want to make sure to respect your time, Nathan, as you are here. So as I begin, I just want to do a quick sound check. Nathan, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. And then you can see the PowerPoint fine?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So if it's just me and you, it might go quick tonight. So, so tonight's agenda, in this session, we'll cover introductions, checking in, important due dates, reflection, and critical thinking questions from Chapter 8, the 6 principles for engaging families in an effective way, and we'll wrap up with time to answer any questions that you all may have. So if you are viewing this online, please make sure you type in, state who you are, where you're from, the program that you are in, and what your favorite movie is. I know for me, it's always nice to hear a little bit hello from everyone at the live session. As you know, my name is Mike. I'm from Colorado. I have a master's degree in early childhood education, and one of my favorite movies as a child was Home Alone. I still enjoy watching it to this day. So that's a little bit about me and my favorite movie. How about you, Nathan?
So I'm in Minnesota. Yeah, and then my favorite movie was when they made the movie version of Where the Wild Things Are. 'Cause that was one of my favorite books as a kid, and then the movie just totally interpreted it in such a good way that it was a great movie.
Nice. Thanks for sharing, Nathan. So as we continue along, just checking in. So how's things going for you, Nathan?
Good. I think it's a good level of work, and the pattern is good. I know every week, okay, I need to do a discussion, 2 responses. I'll have 1 assignment I have to do, and then a field report. So having a set, knowing the kind of routine, I've been able to keep up with it and know what's expected.
Nice, and it seems like you're doing really well in the course too. So, just keep up the good work, and pretty much it's pretty fairly easy. I mean, making sure that you get your stuff on in on time and just answer the questions. It's pretty simple for the most part. So
Yeah.
I'm sure this is. Go ahead.
It's a good workload. It's an amount where I can do. I have an hour break at work, so if I do my homework during the week on my breaks, that's 5 hours. I can get the work done, which is nice because then it leaves me time on the weekend. So I think that it's been good. My other class it's a self-paced class, and it has a larger workload. So it's good to have one that is more stuff and one that's less, so I have time to balance them both.
Yeah, it's nice to have a work-life balance, or a school-life balance, if you will. That's good to hear. I'm glad that you were able to navigate and figure some of the things out. I know this class is a little bit different than maybe your other classes with Rasmussen, but it's pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. Do you know your overall grade to this point?
Mhm.
Good. Good. Well, I'm going to continue. So that's good feedback for me to know with this class. So I just wanted to go through the important due dates. There are assignments. There's 4 assignments that are due this week, so it's kind of a heavy workload week. There's a discussion post, the written assignment, the field experience report, and then the live session quiz. So if you guys are viewing this online right now, you will have to take that live session quiz. Nathan, you will earn full points for participating tonight, so that's a good thing. So you guys all must have 30 field experience hours completed and logged in, and your field experience report by Sunday, September 9th at 11:59 Central Standard Time. All Module 5 assignments, aside from the discussion, which is due Saturday night, are due Sunday, September 9th by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And just a reminder that 10% of the assignment grade is deducted for each day that the assignment is late. Just make sure that you reach out to me if your assignment's going to be late, so I can understand why it's late and evaluate that and move forward. Assignments are not accepted more than 7 days late. That's a college policy, so make sure that you guys know that. The course does end next Friday, September 14th. And then the last module, Module 6, only has 2 assignments. It has the written assignment and the field experience report, which is due Friday, September 14th at 11:59 Central Standard Time. And then just a big reminder that no assignments will be accepted after 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday, September 14th. So try to get everything in by then. Do you have any questions, Nathan?
Nope.
Perfect. So reflection and critical thinking skills from Chapter 8. So this week you were supposed to come up and prepare to discuss question 3 and or 4 in the live session. I'd like to take a look at question 3, the important qualities needed to be good collaborators and communicators. Which ones are the easiest for you to demonstrate, and which ones are the most difficult for you guys to demonstrate? That's the questions that, if you are reviewing this online, that you will have to answer. So which one's the easiest for you, Nathan?
So I think that a lot of the things depend on what kind of person you are. So as far as your collaboration and communication skills, depending on how good you are in like previously in life, whether in high school or things like that, kind of personality you have really affect these kind of things. So for me, I'm a really outgoing person, a really outspoken person, like to share how I'm feeling, like to ask people how they're feeling. It's really easy for me to collaborate and communicate with people in most in verbal ways. So for me, the ways that I have to kind of pay attention to and watch for are kind of my nonverbal forms of communication, how making sure that I'm a person who likes to do things, get things done. So as far as like with families and things like that, making sure that I'm spending enough time like asking them more questions, listening to what they have to say, stopping them when they come in instead of just saying, okay, see you later. I know especially in school age, there's a lot of parents who just kind of come to the door and just kind of expect their kid to just leave without anything being said. So something that I definitely can work on is engaging more with parents, being outspoken towards the parent instead of just being good at listening to what the parent has to say and responding appropriately.
Yeah, and it seems like that just because of your personality that you would be a great communicator with the parents, and you'd probably be easy to start up a conversation and make small talk with the parent too.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things of making positive impressions for, especially with, it's a little bit more difficult when you have school age children, because there's a lot more parents that you have to know, and there's parents that come in and out, and there's different parents that come in and out, but
yeah,
just trying to be, getting to know their, their names is a huge thing, and having that small talk by, hey John, how's your day, actually knowing their actual name is a really big step. Sometimes that goes a little bit above and beyond, but
Mhm.
it's good just for, if you have the same parent that constantly comes in, um, trying to get to them by a first name is huge. Um, so yeah, do you ever prolong conversations?
It depends on the parent and knowing their child. So for parents who are very, it's a good word to use that's positive. I don't know if I can think of one, but they're very concerned about their child at school, whether not because there is like problems or their child is struggling or anything like that, but just because like how the parent is, like they always like the littlest things will can they're kind of parents that the littlest things can really upset them.
Mm-hmm.
And some of
Yep.
the parents that I know that are like that, I know that making sure I talk to them and giving them more details than they probably need or that are really like necessary to a conversation that to a different parent, making sure that I'm having longer conversations, talking about their child today, making sure if there is even the smallest thing that comes up, letting them know before their child tells them, is really important because from experiences in the past, having the parent call and say their child told them this that happened at school, whether it was true or not, hearing it from their child first is a lot worse than hearing it from the teacher first for those kind of parents.
Yeah, there are those trying to find a positive
I
word
know.
myself. uh more I wouldn't say needy, but just more want
Very
more
concerned.
information. Yeah. Those parents that need to know how their child is doing all the time. Um yeah, can't figure a word that comes to mind either, but um with those kinds of parents, you just really want to be mindful, and it's all about getting to know the parent and know what to expect. And sometimes you might have to stumble across um, doing something that you probably not communicating well in order for that to actually happen. Because sometimes you learn by doing, and you don't get to know somebody unless you actually um, get to actually know them.
Hmm.
Um, So what are the? I guess you kind of answered it. Or like, what's the most more difficult? Um, what's the more difficult thing to explain and why?
Yeah, it's parents like that or parents that have a child that have struggles with other children or with listening or with um, following rules and things like that. Parents that are in denial about it, or parents that don't care to do something about it, I guess. Figuring out a way how to best collaborate and communicate with them when they're not really willing to collaborate about it. Um, it's hard to give the child what they need in those situations, and it's also hard to um, communicate more with the parent or get a plan in place if the parent doesn't want to collaborate or communicate about it.
Sure.
I know from when I was working at a center, there was a kid he would scream, he would throw chairs when he doesn't get what he wants, he would sit and pout, he would refuse to go if he didn't get exactly what he wanted. We confronted the parent about it, told her that was happening constantly. It happened throughout the whole week. She was completely in denial about it. She said there was nothing wrong with her child. Her child had never acted that way. Her child would never do that, that kind of thing. Um, I wasn't able to be there to see how they resolved it and what they did about it, but I know that they were really frustrated and weren't sure how to deal with it because when the mother was there, the child knew better not to do those kind of things, or he just would kind of like make sure that he would be around her or not being um, as mindful of throwing those fits because he knew that she was there. So it was hard to actually show the parent what was going on. So that was one of the examples I guess I have of that kind of parent.
Yeah, it's you get all sorts of parents that have different expectations, and I mean, children do act out sometimes differently in a social setting opposed to at home. So parents are just like, well, my kid acts just normal with me at home, but when they get into a social setting, they're very, very different, and they just don't listen. And I think a lot has to do with structure at home, and I think it kind of relates to, you know, well, if they're doing whatever at home and you think it's okay, when you go into a classroom setting and there is structure, well, they are probably going to act a little bit differently because they are expected to behave a certain way too.
Yeah.
um, so I have a question for you since you work with school-age children. Do you ever come across bullying, and how do you handle that if
There
you
is,
do?
yeah, there's definitely plenty of that goes on. There is a kid in particular who absolutely does not care about whatever a teacher has to tell him about something. He'll stop doing something, but he'll just stop doing it for that time, and he'll just do it again later. And you can talk to him, you can say something about it to him, but he just genuinely does not care about what the teacher has to say to him, no matter what teacher in the building it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, he doesn't do usually anything physical or anything that more so than just bullying or being that just kind of a jerk to other kids. And this is a third grader. And so it's hard to do something about the bullying child, or bullying in quotations, I guess, because it's a word that people don't like to use. But that's a whole different conversation. So what I try to do is the kid that's getting bullied or getting made fun of, or the kid that is having that difficulty with him, I try to talk to that child and make sure to explain to that child what's going on, help them understand the situation, let them know that I'm there for them, that they're not a problem, that if that child's having difficulties in their life, and that helping the child to understand the perspective of the other child that's having the difficulties. A lot of times the kid that's getting bullied or getting made fun of, or whatever the case may be, will understand that in school age, and they can, because that's when they start to understand perspectives and will start to understand why kids act a certain way, and when you communicate with them, they can understand those things. And I think that once you learn how the kid acts, and once the other kids know how that kid is, they either avoid him or kind of let him do his own thing, because it is a corporate kind of thing. If the kid's not doing anything bad enough where they have to kick him out, they don't really want to do anything about it, because that kid's money to them, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a corporation, like they want to make money,
Sure.
and whatnot. So it's hard when that happens, because that makes other kids not want to come back, but there's not really anything you can do about that child, because if you say you do kick them out for, say, bullying or something, the parent can come after the school for whatever reason, because, you know, there's that whole sticky mess with that. So I think that for me, when it comes to bullying or kids getting made fun of or kids that have a harder time, I try to focus on the child that is having the difficulty, not the bullying necessarily, because that can be home life issues and other issues that I can't solve. The problem I can solve is with that kid that's getting those negative emotions from another child, talking to them, sitting by them, doing stuff with them to help them enjoy their experience more where I'm working.
And that's great. That's great that you're positive with the person who is being the bullied, because I think that I have a niece back in North Dakota who is, like, last year was being bullied, and the teachers kind of dismissed it like it was not a big deal and that's just how it is, which I feel like that no, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be positive to all the students in your class and try to do what's best for each student and not just dismiss something, especially bullying, because it is a common trend in our, especially our elementary schools.
Mhm.
All right, so regarding, I don't know if you got a chance to read
Mhm.
Joseph or Kristen's story. What would you have done? What could have the teachers or administrators done to make either experience positive? You could just talk about one.
Yeah.
If you're
So
listening if you're listening online too, just like talk about one or the other. So go
so
ahead, Nathan. Sorry.
yeah. So the one with Joseph and the kids being transferred to the new school, I think that that is back back in the 70s when it took place. Um, it was school was different. Teachers were, I guess, there was a lot less um, like theory and the kind of like stuff as far as like um, mental kind of understanding of children and things like that that was done for teachers before then. Most of it was before like teaching them how to teach kids, not teaching them how to be the best positive role model for kids. And so when the kids got there and they went to the playground because they didn't know where to go, and then the principal yelling at them, I think that when the knowing that you have these transfer kids that are from a different cultural background, it's important to respect that and to kind of lead off with that, having that kind of mindset that we have to figure out where these kids are at and what the best way to deal with them. They did a very poor thing as what they did with putting them all into special needs things instead of assessing them correctly and figuring out what the child's needs were. Um, I think that in today's age, something like this would not happen to this degree of 100 children and 70 of them being put. I think this happens on a much smaller scale today with whether they're kids from India and they don't speak English or don't speak very much English, or they are a child who may have a slight mental disability, whether it be autism or something along those lines. And then either the teacher not being informed by the administration about this issue, or the parent not telling the school about this issue, it really negatively affects the child in the end, whether it be Joseph and the American Indian families, or whether it be a new kid that you get at your school that has some issues with learning and things like that. I think that it's it it gets put on the teachers a lot of the time when it's something that should be dealt with by the administration, letting the teachers know the situation. The administration asking the parents about those things is when they're signing their kid up, having that option and having that knowledge is so important. It's something that you don't want to ask a parent directly because you don't want to offend them, you don't want to hurt them, you don't want to have the kid have to hear that kind of conversation. But being informed about those kind of things is something that is very essential, whether especially in elementary and preschool level when parents are very much more protective and defensive of their children.
Yeah, I really agree with that statement. Like, well, first of all, yeah, the culture back in the day was completely different. Um, they obviously didn't have the resources or the mindset. Pretty much what said goes, and there was a lot of corporal punishment back in the day too. Um, like you can't spank a child. Back in the day, you could paddle a child in the butt for not behaving, which is bizarre. If you do that today, obviously you'd get fired from a
Mm-hmm.
it probably will never work in with kids ever again. Um, but I think you're right with, the intake info from the parent and getting to know the actual family and the child so you know how to accommodate and how to handle their behavior is really essential. And it's essential for the teachers too, because a lot of the time, especially, you're talking about corporations, you get these kids, you have no idea where they're from. Well, you just get them. You're just like, here you go. You have Johnny today, and you have no idea. You don't know anything about him besides this is Johnny, and he's a third grader. And I think having that information, and I don't know how your company or how your corporation runs, but I think that having that intake and knowing about the child, about the behavior, and collaborating with the parents is a great strategy. And yeah, do you guys actually do that at your center?
Not not as much as should. I know there was a situation today where a toddler teacher received a child that she did not know the child's name, didn't know the mother was dropping off. She said she's supposed to be in here. The teacher was like, I was not told about this child. I don't know this child. Can you tell me about, she had to ask, she had to look. She looked really bad because she had to ask the mother the child's name, the child's allergies, the child's preferences, things about the child, when those are things that the administration should have already told her or informed her about beforehand. And I think a lot of the times what ends up happening in these situations is teachers end up getting blamed for it, and that it's something that just puts a bad taste in the mouth of teachers a lot of the times, because they get thrown under the bus for those kind of things. And the teacher shouldn't be the person that has to figure that thing out about the children.
And you're exactly right. It's the administrator or the director or whoever is enrolling that child is responsibility to make sure that they have everything they need to know about the child before that first day that child comes in. It is really, I've been in that situation before, and yes, sometimes in corporations, I don't know why there's a barrier of communication, but there is a lack of communication with how, receiving a child in the classroom, and you have no idea where, what, why, when this is going to happen. They just show up and they're like, here you go. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but it does happen a lot. And I think as like teachers, communicating that with administrators and telling them that, hey, it doesn't feel good that you did this. I mean, it would be nice to have information prior for a child coming in, so you don't look stupid,
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I do agree with that intake info. That's huge. Like before, like in our program, before any child is enrolled, they have to go through a pretty extensive background of their income, where they live, if the child was on any IEPs before they came in. It's pretty extensive. Head Start's a little different. As you said that you had some you worked or was a Head Start child, I think. I can't remember if that.
Yeah, my mom was a Head Start teacher.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of requirements and restrictions, and I honestly think that child care centers, especially corporations, should do the same thing. Because
Yep, the government ones do, but the corporations do not. And a lot of times they end up not doing it because they don't want to deny families, because that's denying money, especially in when it's a corporation and things like that, which it sucks, because a lot of times the idea of money and numbers gets put before the actually giving each child the best thing that they can. Because there's some children that a child care center with the ratio of 10 to 1 in a preschool or whatever is not the best fit for them, and they need some other sort of attention, or might need more one-on-one attention, or might need to see a specialist before being put in that situation. And there's a lot of children we have that don't get that, and then it's hard on the teachers because they can't give the child what they need.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but like you said, yeah, it's a business, it's a big business, and it's, you know, corporations different than government, and it completely shows, which is unfortunate, but I mean, what do you do about it? I mean, that's just part of different childcare settings, the public and the private sector, and just working with different of them. And I think since you've seen a lot of it, and know that, that's pretty good. So I'm guessing that you've been working with ECE for the last, what, 10 years?
The what?
How long have you been in ECE, Nathan? Sorry.
Oh, I'm actually 20 years old, and I have 3.5 years of experience.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's quite a bit of experience, especially being only 20 and knowing a lot about Head Start and knowing a lot about the private and the public sectors.
Yeah, I've had a good, well-rounded kind of area, because I've worked at a public middle school, I've worked at a Bible camp, I've worked at a small town child care center, I've worked at kinder care, and now I'm working for CLA. So I've had a good, nice, round area of different kind of child care environments.
Nice. Nice. Well, thanks for sharing. I'm gonna move on to kind of the last thing of the night, I believe, is the 6 principles lecture or supplemental reading videos. So in the NACE's principles of effective practice, family engagement outlines the principles for engaging families in an effective way. I'm going to go through 6 of them, then I'm going to dive into principle number 2 a little bit more. Excuse me. So principle number 1, programs invite families to participate in decision making and goal setting for their child. Basically, you know, this is mainly like at parent-teacher conferences or before a child starts a program. They usually focus on this principle. That's kind of what goal setting is for their child, and then they just try to collaborate that with the teacher and the program. Principle number 2, teachers and programs engage in two-way family communication. So basically that is how you communicate with the family. Some people use iPads, or I forgot what they call tadpoles, to communicate with parents daily. Sometimes they talk to them, sometimes they use newsletters. There's different ways of communication. Sometimes families like to actually be called. In this day and age, I don't know many families that actually like to do that, because we live in a digital world. And people are really, really busy. Number 3, the principal program and teachers engage families in a reciprocal, in ways that are truly reciprocal. Basically, that programs and teachers are making sure that they are exchanging, it's kind of the same thing, but a little bit different. I don't know how to really put this. Basically, teachers engage in families, making sure that they're being implemented, like with decisions of, how can I put this? It's kind of like PAT, parents that go into like parent boards. Can't remember, so like for our program, we use Policy Council, so they use it in that way, where families will engage with some of the decisions that the program's actually doing. The fourth principle is programs provide learning activities for the home and in the community. So, this is like taking home like a family project or doing volunteer hours with their child or into the community somehow. We have like a parent wellness where parents come in and do yoga with their children. So something along the lines of that. The fifth principle, programs invite families to participate in program level decisions and wider advocacy efforts. So basically with the procedures of how hiring is made and decisions of who they should hire, kind of like panels, that kind of falls into that principle where parents see who is going to get making decisions on the level of the program. And then the last one, programs implement a comprehensive program level system. Basically, the programs is implemented by the parent faculty or by the parents throughout the, how can I put this? Programs implement a comprehensive program level system where basically the program and the program and the families come up with different systems for the classroom and for the program. Kind of like, so if you have in-kind hours, they help create the forms and stuff for that principle. Hopefully I explained that okay. If you have questions, just let me know. But I wanted to touch on the principle too, because it affects pretty much what you guys do every day, is the communication piece, because you guys are the frontline staff. So, with the principles, I'll go into the little bit of social media, but like as educators, what principles stood out to you, and what can you do as educators to engage families in two-way communication? And you probably are already doing this, but there is like Pinterest and Twitter and classroom websites that I would like to share a little bit about. So, I said that we live in a digital world, and there are different ways to communicate and in the classroom. When I was a teacher, I sent home weekly newsletters, I made phone calls, set up conferences. I also had a daily sheet of each child of what they did and kind of the highlights of their days. I also had parent nights and picnics and open houses, and then obviously daily volunteering opportunities. But now with the prevalence of social media, there are different ways to communicate, and some of the ways that are a little bit unique is Pinterest. So there are Pinterest boards that are easy for teachers to share information and ideas so that the families can stay informed and find new creative ways to help their children at home. Teachers can make a board that has current research on different educational topics or issues, or create one that may include subject-specific activities for children to do at home. One that I used to do with Pinterest is the one with recipes to make at home with their child. But yeah, each board gives families the opportunity to take the concepts that you're teaching at school and engage the children at home. So it's kind of a good way to use Pinterest in that aspect, if you have the Pinterest app. It is free, and then they could see your pins and kind of gives them an idea of what they could be doing at home with their child. So yeah, that's one of them. And then the next one is Twitter. So the Twitter account pretty much just allows the teacher to follow other educational professionals and organizations. I'm guessing that you've all heard of Pinterest and Twitter before. um, so basically, with Twitter, when a family has Twitter, they're able to follow the teacher, see different ideas and topics, and read about important issues related to with their children and their education. I know when I was coaching at Mountain Range High School here in Colorado, we used Twitter a lot for different communication methods for the parents. So they know when games were, practices were, forms when they had to get in, just parent night and just different things. And then the last one is a classroom website. So anybody could really design a classroom website, and it could include anything you really want in there. Some important things I think that teachers can include on their websites, maybe the daily schedule and the weekly or monthly calendars, snack calendars, classroom rules, dress code information, things you're working on at school, you know, things, activities to try at home, pictures of the students, and anything that you feel is important that will help the child succeed in the class. So yeah, a classroom website can include a blog on which you can post a newsletter or write the ideas or topics that you want. So, you know, there's different ways of communication through the internet and social media. In the corporate world, I don't know what the stipulations or if there are stipulations on that. I know I work for the county, so they're really strict on that with things that they really have to monitor. So yeah, you know, it's something that you could try if you want. But yeah, that's one of the principles that really sticks out to me and that really actually applies to what you guys do every day. So now having said that, what do you do already, Nathan, to engage families?
Yeah,
Pretty much talked about it.
Oh, there's an echo. But I am not so I don't have a primary care group of preschoolers or toddlers. I am a specialty teacher, so I'm an assistant, and I go around. I'm with different classrooms every day. So for those kids that I'm with, I don't participate in a lot of two-way communication for them because I'm not their primary teacher.
Sure.
For school age, I do have a primary group that I have for some of the kids I only have for an hour, some of the kids I have for 4, so it depends on the family and the child. But for those families and what already goes on at the center, I know all the teachers in the classrooms are required to do daily notes for their kids. They have like week in review sheets that they have to post about the different activities they did, things like that. They have there's a newsletter that's given out every week. Children have in the preschool, they have a journal, it's called, that they work in, where they do their literacy and math and different things like that, where the parent can look and see where their child's progression is to help engage them with where their child is at. There's open houses every month. So kind of, I think the principle too, you know, the two-way communication is something that is done well by almost all places. And I think that the generic two-way communication between all families is kind of there. I think the thing that can be worked on from that is the two-way communication with specific families, like we're talking about them specifically with their child and focus on their child. I know that our center, we don't do digital ways. Our corporate hasn't implemented that, and I don't know when they will. They should. because it's the easiest way. Instead of handwriting daily notes, it's easier to and quicker to do it online. But I think that knowing what, when you have a primary care group, knowing what each family level of care is for their child, how much they want to know about their child, how much they appreciate knowing about their child today, knowing specifically how much each family wants, is the going above and beyond of just the kind of generic two-way communication of daily notes and having events and things like that.
Yeah, just doing stuff to doing stuff is not very effective, is it? And
Yeah,
I
a lot
mean,
of times you'll get the same families that show up to every open house and to every event, and then there's families that don't show up to any of them. They don't respond to any of those kind of things. Um, so.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, I really think that making sure that having some way of communication to the parent is good. I really think that daily sheets do need to go away because they are time consuming and they don't, I don't know, they just,
A lot of
parents just throw them away anyways, I think, instead of actually reading them. So yeah, but yeah, I think that's a great way to do such things now that we do live in a social media world. But yeah, do you have anything else to add, Nathan?
No, I don't think so. I think that it's something that some families will engage in and some families won't. So it's just knowing your families and really focusing on communicating well with families, both that want a lot of attention and the ones that are not really committing a lot of attention, just to get that kind of extra step to see if they really just don't care or if that they just need to be talked to by the teacher to get more engaged with their child.
And I think you nailed it on the nose when you said about intake and getting the information prior to having the child being in your classroom and knowing the family and knowing the expectation and knowing what you're going to walk into before it actually happens is really key for a successful and positive classroom environment for collaboration. So, do you have any questions at all, Nathan?
I think they're good.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate your time, Nathan. If you are watching online, please make sure to answer all the questions that I have asked. Nathan, you will get full credit for this live session. Been a pleasure working with you, Nathan. If you have any questions, if you ever need a reference or anything, let me know. I'm always here to help. But hopefully you enjoyed the class as it comes to a close, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions or concerns or anything.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. I like, yeah, like I said before, I like having actual conversations. That's why one struggle with online classes is I really enjoy verbal discussion, and so that's one thing.
And that's good, and that's a good thing, Nathan, because I've been teaching now for over a year with Rasmussen, and there's not many people that actually like to have that conversation back and forth, which makes it really awkward for me. So I do appreciate your time talking through it, so it's not really awkward.
Yeah,
So,
I know. Tests, the tests and papers are my struggle, and hands-on physical discussions, things like that are great. That's why, I mean, I guess why I'm working with kids and stuff, because it's not sitting in a cubicle writing things all day. It's really engaging and talking to people, and it's the best way for me to learn. And I think one of the best ways to learn in general is talking to other people and gaining knowledge, not just from reading and stuff, but like just from personal experience is one of my favorite ways to learn. So.
yep, and I think experiences are great, just like children The more, there's positive and bad, positive and negative experiences, but you learn from each experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, thanks for participating, and yeah, like I said, feel free to reach out if you need anything.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.